Thank you all for coming. The comedian George Carlin once said that if you tell somebody that the paint is wet, they have to touch it to be sure. Now, it seems that few of us these days get a chance to touch the paint in our system of education. Typically, teachers lecture, students memorize information, they take exams, repeat. And we know that this maybe doesn't work because only about 37% of us earn a four-year college degree. So maybe this system is not great and we could do better. And perhaps passion for learning is within us, and that it emerges primarily when we are doing something, developing a need to know, evolving a desire to touch the paint. So when I first started teaching, I overheard students talking in the hallway, and they're talking about their classes, and this one says, okay, you're gonna go to geology, and you're gonna go to history, and you're gonna go to psychology. And I thought, what's up with that? And then it hit me, they're dividing up their classes because they just needed to get lecture notes in order to take the exams. Students would literally ask me, and you guys have all heard it before to teach, are we doing anything in class today? It's like, no. No, we're not doing anything in class today. We're just learning about how the earth works. Nothing important. And I thought, I am passionate about my discipline. I wanted them to be passionate about my discipline. This situation was not making me happy, and clearly the sound of my voice, as wonderful as it is, was not enough to lure them into my sermons 3 days a week. So I thought I better do something about this because I wasn't going to make it through a 30-year career doing this approach. So by the third week in my class, more than half of the students were no longer coming, except on exam day, when they all showed up. I was in pretty deep denial. And when in denial, what do? You start rationalizing. So I thought, they need the information. It worked for me. I mean, what do they mean? They don't book learn. Nobody in my family got a college degree, and I survived a PhD. I figured it must work for them. What's the deal? And professing is what I do. It's right there in the name, Professor Thomas. And so I kind of started thinking, this is a beer and circus conspiracy designed to interest students in anything other than intellectual activities. And to top it off, they would then bring me these hold harmless forms. And the hold harmless forms were there to essentially officially skip my class. So not only were they skipping my class, but they were officially skipping my class. And so I decided that I am going to beat them at their own game. And that skipping my class to go ride a bull is not okay. I needed to make my classes more important than work, more important than sports, more important than elk hunting. Okay, maybe not more important than elk hunting. It is Southwest Montana. But I am going to win hearts and minds, and we're going to change the situation. All right, so I did some research on the origins of the modern educational system. And I found that during the Middle Ages in Europe, that Catholic monks were drilling clergy from a pulpit, a lectern, a word that literally means reading from a book. I was using a biblical training system from the Dark Ages. I thought, humans did not evolve to learn this way, and I am a survivor of a bad system. Then I came across the works of John Dewey. John Dewey, in the early 20th century, brilliant guy, that students should experience their education. And that my job was to facilitate good experiences for the students. And he pointed out that the standard at the time was that if students were bored, we were doing our jobs well. That this was the hallmark of a quality education, boredom. And I thought, really? Well, we're still pretty good at that. So with this idea that Dewey, arguing that students thrive in an environment where they are experiencing their learning, my goal was, to get them doing that. And I knew that this was the way to go. As a geologist, I had done field courses where we were immersed for a month-long experience in the field, and we were actually doing geology. And every geologist knows this is the most important experience they've ever had in their academic career. You're kind of like, oh, this is how it works. Oh, this is what geology is. And I learned, more importantly, that I didn't know anything. Because I got in the field and I had to do it, and I'm like, I've had 4 years of lectures. I don't know anything. I have no idea how to do my discipline. So it really ignited my passion for learning. The field camp experience was absolutely the turning point in my mind. So here at Western, I became totally obsessed with changing this bad system. And I actually started subverting it with my own immersion scheduling on the semester system. But that was tough on students. They were taking other classes, so I pulled them out for an afternoon to go into the field. That cut in on their time to be taking other classes. It was a problem. I started looking for ways, to schedule that would allow the students to be able to go into the field and take their other classes, to get them engaged in what I do as a professional as much as I possibly can. And I figured that if I had large blocks of uninterrupted time, like my geology field class, then the lectures would become briefings. They would be used for facilitating experiential learning on real projects, rather than things to memorize and regurgitate for exams, and that the work itself would drive the need to know more information. That's why we have this. It's right in their pocket. It would push skill development, professional work habits, dedication to quality outcomes, rather than just chucking it in the garbage can when it's over. So to make sure class was their top priority, I knew the projects had to be real. I knew they needed to be of value to society. I knew they needed to be accountable to professional stakeholders rather than surrogate dad. That would result in professional results. Well, it turned out that there was an existing college-level scheduling system that was devised by Colorado College in the late 60s, where students take, faculty teach one class at a time, sometimes all day if needed. And they do it for about a month. It's called block scheduling. Long story short, with 84% faculty support on this campus and a unanimous vote of the Faculty Senate, the thing I will be most proud of for the rest of my life, we adopted it at Montana Western, and that was some 20 years ago now. It worked for me, but more importantly, it worked for students, and we know this because we assessed it. A campus-wide assessment was conducted after the first decade that we were on this system, and what we found was astonishing. Students felt engaged in their education. They rarely skipped class. I mean, rarely skipped class. 96% completed their classes. 96%. They persisted, coming back after their first year a whopping 45% more than they had when we were on the semester system. They wanted to come back. Graduation rates increased 25%. 25% our graduation rates increased. Employment increased. To me, the most important measure. And they were successful in both graduate school and the workplace because we're getting feedback on this. All right. Now, everyone uses this system differently. I don't have some magic bullet for how to use it. I use it the way it works for me. That's how we work as faculty. But for me, students are employees. I tell them. We serve as consultants on real projects. And in this one class that I do, they're in the field each day gathering data to essentially assess stream remediation projects. And they work on local impaired streams. We worked on the Big Hole, the Upper Clark Fork, Poindexter Slough, many. And they conduct analyses of their data. They put it together in a report with recommendations for land managers. And they have to defend that work at board meetings with managers. A final exam, if you will, but where authentic fear drives their best work. They don't dare mess up. Grades are pay, and they're based on their work ethic, teamwork, leadership skills, product quality, product quality, product quality. Our reputation depends upon product quality. It's the most important thing. So we can't mess up, ever. I've become the coach, and each player on my team must be completely present every day in every way as though they were riding a bull. I'm winning. All right. So during our long drives into the field, I spent a lot of time talking to students, and I asked them what they think about it all. Not surprisingly, they have very sophisticated understandings of their own education. We think otherwise sometimes. They know that what they're doing is real. They're making a difference for society, and they know that others care about their work. They realize that professional work requires that they be a professional. And they're proud of their work. Deeply, deeply proud of their work. But probably most importantly, they realize, like I did as an undergrad at field camp, they don't know anything. This is the hallmark of a good education. Being absolutely certain and scared that you don't know anything. Because you don't. You're beginning. When they tell their friends and neighbors what they're doing, those folks tend to be very impressed. It sounds practical, real, not just that old book learning. And fear not, if taxpayers are positive about what we're doing, then just perhaps, they will be more inclined to support education, and we can use all the good press that we can get, especially these days. All right, so after all these years, I am still learning. I am still evolving. I'm still trying to be better. And I'm 60 plus. This system's good for me. It keeps me active. I am confident that our grand experiment, as it was once termed, is working. Why? Let me tell you a story. So one day I'm out in the field and I'm walking around on the stream and I ran across a teen that was shy student. I pop out of the willows and just to make sure that they're doing okay. And they're shy students. So I ask about this guy's whereabouts, and they're like, I can hear him throwing up in the willows. So as I'm about to start thinking, he's got bottle flu, his peers start vigorously defending him as legit sick. And so when he emerges from the willows, I said, hey, why don't you go to the van and rest? I'll fill in for you. He clearly, the whole demeanor on his face changed. He very quickly grabbed his gear and he said, very sternly, absolutely not. This only gets done if I do it. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. Nothing could have made me happier. I smiled, I walked away, and I knew these students were touching the paint, hopefully infected with a passion for learning. Let this be so everywhere. Thank you very much.